Get started on your back. You'll see I have a couple of blocks here with me. We won't necessarily need them for our warm up or anything like that, but there's a few poses we'll find in class today where, again, not required, but you might personally find that it's helpful to have a block. So if you have them, just keep them close by. They're helpful to have for a few different poses as we're going to go through the class today. Start off hooking your feet in. It's going to be a bend in your knees and a little flexion to the hips here. We are feeling the sacrum, the scapula, the back of the shoulder blades here, and our skull, just all coming into alignment on the floor. I like to take my hands on top of the thighs and just pushing those palms into the very tops of your legs here. You're going to press in your feet, squeeze your glute. So your glutes are your butt muscles. You want to make sure that they're working there for you. You could even give them a little gentle, loving tap and slap just to, nothing aggressive, but just to say, hey, brain, these are the muscles that we're turning on here. And then you could bring your hands back on top of the thighs and now kind of slide your palms up to your bony frontal hip points. You'll feel this here. It's on the outside edges in the front are ASISs, these two little bony landmarks. They're going to help us kind of steer our pelvis in the right direction as we wiggle our left foot in towards the center. Lift your right foot off the ground. Now, if you find lifting your right leg is a lot, feel free to keep your right toes on the ground. You're still going to asymmetrically fire up this left glute. Now, if you are holding that right leg over the right hip, add on a little bit here with me. We're going to roll the right thigh open, a little external rotation, bring it back through neutral, and internally rotate it. So you bring it back through neutral, external rotation, neutral, internal rotation. And we're just taking the leg bone, the femur, and we're using it to internally and externally rotate in that right hip and just kind of scrubbing this area out. I like to take my pointer and middle finger on that same side, so my right hand here, and like poke around my hip crease. It really helps me bring awareness to just this whole area. And again, nothing like crazy aggressive, but I'm just kind of letting my fingers poke around in here and feel the nerves and the muscles and everything that's moving this leg. Okay, right leg can come down. Let's get that other leg going. So right foot's on the ground, left knee is over the left hip. Again, you could always just lift your left ankle, but keep the right foot on the ground, asymmetrically load it. Option here now to roll left thigh out, neutral, roll it in, neutral. So you just keep this little internal and external rotation. And you might notice on one side, like the hip movement is significantly more limited than the other side. That's pretty normal for a lot of people. You tend to maybe even use your legs differently. Think about when you're sitting in the car, you have one leg working the gas and the brakes, and the other leg is just kind of sitting out there. So there's one example in all of our lives where we have some asymmetry going on with our hips, our legs. All right, let's bring that left leg into neutral. Both feet come down. So you're going to stay lifted in your pelvis. You do want to feel a lot of heat around these glutes. They're spending enough time sleepy and underactive. Again, feel if you're getting any scrunch in your low back. If you feel like your low back's holding you up here, go lower. Get longer in your low back by dropping your sacrum towards the earth. You're still going to stay lifted, firing up those glutes. If you feel it in the knees, wiggle those feet forward. Don't let the pressure gather in the knees. Instead, elevate it up into the hips, into that extension. Let the feet go further away from you. Then take your hands up to the ceiling. We'll take about 3 breaths, pulling back on the right fingers. You could go more overhead, so it's a nice option for people's shoulders, or you could keep it more in front of your face. And then we'll switch to the left wrist. Pull back on that left wrist. One big breath here. Again, you can go a little bit more overhead if you like that option. It's not required. Again, with all these poses today, I just want you to feel really full and really connected to it all. It's not about how wide it is or how far it is or how low to the ground. Lower yourself down, upper, middle, lower back. Speaking of lowering to the ground, release the left wrist. Circle it a few times. We'll do an effective core series here. Hands come behind the head, interlace the fingers. Pull these elbows in, nice and close. Big inhale here. Exhale, pull into the core. Lift your shoulder blades off the ground. Shoulder blades lift up. We're pulling, gathering everything together. Maybe even look at your low ribs here and ask yourself to pull down even deeper. I know it's tough after that Thanksgiving feast. So good. Inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. So we're taking all that good fuel from the last couple of days. We're energizing it. Right arm reaches up. We're just going to reach that right arm directly up to the ceiling. Reach from your whole right shoulder blade. Right hand comes back. Inhale, lower. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. Left arm reaches up. So it's the opposite arm, but it's doing the same thing. It's reaching directly up to the ceiling from the shoulder blade, getting that spread. Left hand comes back behind your head. Inhale, lower. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. Right arm reaches up. And then take your left arm. You're going to reach it overhead. So it's like your left bicep is framing out your left ear here. I know it's kind of a weird angle for your arms. It's just adding demand for the upper core. Hands both come back behind the head. Inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. So carefully, left arm reaches directly up to the ceiling. Right arm reaches overhead and frames out your right ear. Spread the fingers, reach from those shoulder blades. We're expanding the upper core. Both hands come back behind the head. Inhale and lower. Whew. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. Right arm reaches directly up. Left arm reaches overhead, kind of framing out that ear. Then we're going to take our right arm and reach it past the left thigh. So it's a little diagonal cut down there. You're reaching, reaching, reaching. Right arm comes back. Left arm comes back. Inhale and lower as you come out of that twist. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. The left arm reaches directly up. Right arm frames out the right ear. Then left arm slices down diagonally across and past that right leg. You're getting a lot of demand here with this right arm reaching up. Left arm comes back, right arm comes back. Inhale and lower. Last one each way. Add a kick. Exhale and lift. Right arm reaches up. Left arm frames out the left ear. Right arm slices across that left leg and then kick that left leg forward. Spread those left toes. Lift up a little bit higher. Pull back with your right foot and get higher off the shoulder blades. Left foot comes down. Right hand comes back. Left hand comes back. Inhale and lower. Last one. Exhale and lift. Left arm's going to reach up. Right arm reaches up and frames out that ear. Kick or twist. Left arm reaches past that right leg. Now kick. And you're kicking, you're twisting, you're pulling. Pull back with that left leg. Oh, it's the last one. Hands come back. Right foot comes down. Inhale and lower. Good job, everybody. Wiggle your feet wide. And then windshield wiper the legs from side to side. So there's a lot of demand on your core, but it's nice to be able to challenge the core again in those novel ways, adding some demand into the upper body that we might not necessarily be getting. And as you move your legs from side to side here, just feel what we were doing in our bridge, this little articulation of your legs, the femur bones where they plug into your hip socket, moving internal and external rotation. All right, bring it all the way around onto hands and knees. We'll come up into our quadruped and take your time to get there. Start off, set up a good strong quad. So important to get this really centered connection while we move. We'll bring our hands under the shoulders. Knees are directly underneath of the hips. Spine is long here as we press into those hands. We're going to feel a little bit of feedback into the floor. Big inhale here. And exhale. Feel the front line of the body draw into the back line of the body. So you're going to feel like that belly button is trying to like hollow out the middle of the body and pull into that back line. Palms are pressing into the ground. We are gripping with those fingertips. Everything really strong here. Pressing into the floor, getting that feedback from the ground. And also notice your neck. If it has a tendency to droop forward, I'm really guilty of this. My neck likes to be forward, spending that time on the computer, TV, all those wonderful things from 2020. So lift your throat into the back of your neck. And if you still kind of feel like your head is really getting this tendency to fall towards the floor again, it's pretty common with our posture and just the way we tend to carry ourselves through the day. So we can kind of overcorrect this by just for a moment, lifting our gaze, which kind of like expanding the front of the throat here. And then bring your chin back in toward your chest, but you'll keep your skull in line with your shoulders. So already that might feel like, oh, wow, big correction there for the neck, just to elongate. Then come down onto your forearms and set up for Dolphin. So we'll come onto our forearms. As always, we have two options. So my arms are parallel right now. I have my palms down on the ground. Elbows are directly underneath the shoulders. Another great option is to tie your fingers together. Still the same cue though, to wrap those elbows in, get them under your shoulders. You're creating a nice column to support your upper body with. Those elbows get wider than your shoulders. We're just not setting it up as optimally as we could. So hold yourself with as much support as possible. Bring those elbows really close in, tuck your toes. Now your toes are gonna be tucked. You can release your neck. Look back at those knees. Big inhale here. Fill up your back like it's a big balloon. Exhale, press into the feet, press into the forearms, and hoist your pelvis up towards the ceiling, getting deeper in your hip flexors. So I just want you to focus on the knees staying bent, letting your hip flexors, so where your legs actually plug into your pelvis, get deeper. Feel like you're trying to suction your leg bones high up and into that hip socket. You could even take your fingers and like feel those hip creases for a moment. If you're comfortable asymmetrically loading it, you want to keep spreading the toes, keep pushing down into your forearms. Feel like your ribs are lifting further away from the floor. And look at your toes, spread them. And just for a few more seconds here, we're going to extend our ankles. So straighten your ankles and then let them flex again, and straighten and flex. And all you're doing here, holding that core in steady. So continue to lift your low ribs up into the back. Let the neck relax. Keep pushing through those ankles. We're creating a really true full stretch from our neck all the way down to our heels. So this can be very revealing where our most restriction is in that back line. I'm feeling this all the way in my low back, just an area that's tight. So we're sitting, even standing around, doing all the cooking. Your low back might have been getting a little bit shortened for you. Okay, let's all bring knees down. Sit it back, child's pose, hips, go back to the heels. Good long dolphin. Definitely gonna fire everything up. There's no way to avoid it. Come up and hit a wall for some down dog on the wall, action. It's been a few days since we've gotten around to this one. So as always, you could do forearm stand on the wall as well. With that, you're just gonna wanna replace your palms with your elbows. I even like to use my blocks to measure me out here. So I'm gonna put this one block next to my hip. I'll come against the wall. My feet are touching the wall. Legs are straight. They don't have to be like totally straight. It could be like just kind of close to straight, but take your block or your hands and bring that next to your hip here so you have a measurement of where you want your hands to go. So the idea is we've got our shoulders over our hips. We're gonna flip this around and get our hips over our shoulders, but the measurement will be the same. So you'll flip it around. You've got your hands still in place, or you've got your block helping to remind you where you want your hands. Press into the palms, come back to quadruped with the toes tucked. Keep the elbows straight here. Oh, you're fine. And then tuck the toes, hoist the pelvis up high. Get really deep in those hip flexors. You're pressing into your hands, you're grabbing the floor, your hip flexors are getting deeper. This probably feels like a shorter down dog stance than you're used to. With the elbows still straight, slowly walk the feet up the wall. And as you straighten into the legs, you want to feel that front line of the body pulling into the back line of the body. Low ribs staying in, arms pressing down, feeling this lift of the ribs away from the floor. So all this stuff that we do in bridge, in core, in dolphin, it all plays into these big moves, these down dogs on the wall, these dolphin moves, these inversions. And again, it's not necessarily that what we're doing in the practice is having to go for these inversions and these big fancy moves, if you will. More the idea I want you to get out of it is that you are capable of it. You're strong enough. You just need to practice it. We don't get upside down very often. We don't weight bear through our shoulders very often. That's why it feels weak. That's why it feels underactive. It's like if you only got up and took a walk once a week and you spent the rest of the time with your legs hanging out by your side, would they really be all that strong for you? Well, think about those arms too. Weight bearing through them, giving them that balance that they need. So chances are you've been upside down for a while. You can come back to the mat now, maybe even roll your shoulders a few times. We'll recommend get a little sip of water, especially if you haven't had a lot of it today. Get that hydration in. You know, you don't want to drink too much too fast, like always. We don't want to fill up too much too fast, but also nice to have that hydration. So you feel free to drink as you see fit. Just always love to give that little PSA in the winter time here. And I know it's not as on our minds. So when you come to the top of the mat, you can bring your arms by your side, get ready for mountain pose. Now, the same way that we instruct forward and up, I'm gonna have you bring your hands forward in front of you instead of out to the side. So we'll avoid any out to the side stuff today. Arms reach forward and up, keep the ribs contained. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands come forward as they come down so that they can land in front of your feet. Right foot steps back, right knee comes down, 90-90 low lunge. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up. So you have this 90-90 position. Left foot feels like it's pulling back to the right. Right glute is on, lifting and working. Hands come down, step back into plank. Lower your knees and lower all the way to the ground. Keep the head of your arm bones lifted. Pull back the hands in cobra, root the tailbone. Tuck the toes, lift, downward facing dog. Hoist the pelvis up high. Get those hip flexors deeper, press into your hands, straighten the elbows. Right foot steps forward, left knee comes down. So again, 90-90 low lunge, left knee comes down, arms reach forward and up. Keep that container of the core, everything elevating, lengthening. Hands come down, step forward to top of the mat. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips. You can always bring your hands into your hip flexors. Get them to move back. Left foot steps back. Left knee comes down. You can keep the toes tucked. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Use that left glute to hoist you up high. Feel like that right foot is pulling back towards that left leg. Hands come down, step back into plank. Lower your knees. Lower all the way to the ground. The head of the arm bones stay lifted. Pull back your hands in cobra. Lift your belly into your low back. And then tuck your toes. Press and lift. Downward facing dog. Deep in those hip flexors. Think of your legs trying to pull higher up and into your hip sockets. Left foot steps forward, right knee comes down. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. 90-90 low lunge, left foot pulling back, right glute working. Hands come down, step forward to the top of the mat. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. As you hinge at the hips, again, you could work those fingers into the hip flexors, move them back. Right foot steps back, right knee comes down. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. So we're back in our 90-90 here. And then we're just gonna take our left hand, bring it down, back, behind us, and then forward again. So it's like this little swing of the left arm. We're taking it forward, swinging it down and back, giving a little chest opener here to the left. We're feeling this left scapula, getting a little hydration, a little bit of blood flow. And here's where it's gonna be really important. Feel that right glute holding you up here. We're long in the spine. See, if I was collapsing my hips forward, this would go all into my low back. This wouldn't be a good opening at all. We'll keep that spine long, keep that pelvis neutral, get that opening for your torso that it needs. Last time, sweep that left arm down, right arm comes down, 90-90 twisted crescent. So the left hand can check your right glute at first, and then you can reach it up to the side. Just check that right glute and make sure it's still on for you at first. You want those right gluteus maximus muscle fibers firing. Right ear to right shoulder. You can even look down at your right hand. And then looking at that right hand, feel like you're pressing into your right palm. Your right hand won't really move, so the wrist stays lined up with that short top of the mat line, but feel like you could dial your right hand up to the right, and you should feel your right shoulder blade hug onto your back ribs in a really lovely, supportive way. Now keep that feeling of dialing the right hand out going for you as you slide the left foot back from modified side plank. So right knee is down, right hand is down, right knee is under that right hip, right hand's under the right shoulder. You can even notice by bringing your left hand on top of that right shoulder joint where that right arm bone meets the shoulder socket if the hand is really far out or in front of you or behind you. Get that hand right underneath that right shoulder joint. Feel that shoulder blade hug onto the back ribs, supporting you here. And then last time, if you want, you can reach the left arm up and a little bit overhead, like our core work here, where that biceps framing out the ear. Press into your left big toe and reach through your left shoulder blade. It'll create this really wonderful pull through the whole left side. One more breath here. I'll give the right side some love. So left hand comes down, right leg steps back to meet the left. You can lower your knees again or choose to do it without. So lower all the way to the ground, head of the arm bone stay lifted. Two options, pull back your hands for cobra, root your tailbone, long in the spine, press and lift, down dog. Hoist the pelvis up high, step the right foot forward, left knee comes down, inhale, arms reach forward and up. Again, 90-90 low lunge. Taking it to the other side, sweep the right arm down and back, and then you bring it forward and up. So it gets to slow down and back, reach back. We're doing a little peeling open for the chest here. That right side, getting its opening, feeling this rotation come from the core. So I like this rotation move because it really allows us to twist around the axis of the spine without being tempted to use our arms to crank us deeper, like grabbing the leg or something. Again, we want the muscles around an area to expand. We got to use the muscles that are attached to that area to really, truly expand it. One more time, sweep that right arm down, and then left hand comes down. Inside the right foot, the right hand's going to check your left glute. You want these muscles fired and working for you here. And then if you want from there, you could bring the right arm up. Let the left ear go to the left shoulder. Doing a little opening through that right side. You're going to look at your left hand. Make sure the left wrist stays lined up with the short top line of the mat. Feel like you could dial your left hand out to the left, but it won't really spin out on you. You should just feel your left shoulder blade hug your back ribs even more. Then right foot, go slide back, modified side plank. Left knee under the left hip, left hand under the left shoulder. You could even take that right hand, check the glenohumeral joint. You wanna feel like your arm, the shoulder socket there, that little ball of the arm joint is like a golf ball tee sitting comfortably on it. So it's not far back, it's not out in front, it's just sitting directly on top of that. From here, we could then reach the right arm up, maybe reach the right arm over, frame out your right ear. Press into your right foot, and you should feel a really lovely stretch from the right side of the hip. Like I feel it right at the very top of the bowl of the pelvis here, and it goes all the way up through my obliques into the intercostals of the ribs, and I even feel it under my subscapula and up into my levator scapula. It attaches to your neck and your skull there. So really get that stretch the whole way through. And then right hand comes down, plank pose, left leg steps back to meet the right. Lower your knees, lower all the way to the floor. You can always skip the knees. Head of the arm bones stay lifted, pull back your hands in cobra, lift, downward facing dog. So press into the hands, lift, downward facing dog. From here, bend and straighten the knees a couple times. You just step to the top of the mat. So as you bend your knees, you want to sit your hips back in space. Your chest and your arms don't really change. They're moving through space, but the alignment of them is mostly the same. Arms up and overhead. Now we'll step to the top of the mat to go left, right. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Hands come down. Step or give a little hop back. So your choice there, find plank, lower your knees, or don't. Lower all the way to the ground. You can stick with cobra, pull the hands back, or reach the arms back in locust. Really up to you there. Hands come down, tuck the toes, press and lift. Downward facing dog. Remember, in down dog, you want your weight equal between your hands and your feet. Don't collapse it back into your legs. Hold that belly up strong. Feel the hip flexors getting deeper. Feet come together, bend and straighten the knees. Push through the toes, bend and straighten the knees. Push through the toes, bend and straighten the knees. Deepen those hip flexors, lean on those shoulders, get a little hop up. You'll come to the top. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Remember, you can always move those hip flexors back in space. Step or hop back, plank pose. Lower, knees or not. Training ourselves to move from the hips, not from the pelvis. Pull back the hands for cobra, and then press, lift, downward facing dog. So it's our hips that lead us there. We flex the hips, the leg bones pull deeper into those hip sockets. Again, one more time, feet together. Option to give a little press through the toes, a little hop on up, just a baby float. Hinge your hips, rise up with a long spine. Inhale, arms can reach forward and up. We could keep them at your hips. Exhale, move at your hips first. So you know you're moving at your hips because your legs go back into the hip socket. If I moved at my pelvis, this is what that looks like. Big load for your low back. It's gonna hurt later. Hands come down, step or hop back, plank pose. I've just been seeing a lot of that pelvic movement lately, so I wanna address it, get on top of it. Lower to the ground. Again, we're looking for the most sustainable ways to move, ways that will serve us until the end, until the mileage kicks up. Tuck the toes, press and lift. Hinge at those hips, because our body is not necessarily like a car. We don't just have to get all these parts replaced. We can take care of them and they'll last for us. Every now and then you need a replacement. It's good to live in a day of modern technology. One inhale here, big breath into your back. Exhale. Like my friend Andrea, she's very healthy. She's getting a hip replacement and she feels great now. And she's got that hip replacement. So, you know, there's good things to it too. But I want you to avoid any of that. Let's just keep it together. All right, left foot steps forward, rise up for high lunge. Hands come to either side of the pelvis. So we're gonna have a little dynamic move here. Loading your left leg. Bring your right knee up. And then right away, we're gonna send our right leg back. We're doing our little ball change here. So what ball change means is we're gonna shift onto our right back foot, shift onto that left foot, shift onto that right foot, and then load that left again. So it's this right loads, right loads, and then the second time you load that left, you bring that right knee up. I know it's a little funny at first, but you get used to it. Right back, load the left, load the right, load the left, bring the right knee up. So back, load it, back, and then lift it. Back, ball change, lift. Ball change, lift. So right leg goes back, we load that, load the left, load right, load the left, and lift that right. Right leg goes back, load right, load left, load right, load left, and lift it. Load right, load left, load right. I'll say lift left. That'll be our instructions. Load right, load left, load right, lift. Let's just do it 2 more times. Load right, load left, load right, and lift. Load right, load left, load right, and lift. All right, hold that right knee up. And holding this right knee up, and just get face towards you real quick. We're gonna keep facing the front, but roll the right thigh out, roll the right thigh in. Just a few times like this. Really hold that pelvis steady. Feel like the very front of your pelvis, it's called the pubic symphysis, could zip up towards the sternum. So we feel a lot of engagement in that front there. Really nice. Then come back to neutral. Whew. Right knee in front. Step that right foot back again. Turn to the right and side lunge to the right. Again, I like to take my thumbs and pull the hips back in space. And we'll side lunge both ways. So side lunge to the right, side lunge to the left. Again, I always like to turn to the side just to really illustrate like all of our squats. So here's that idea, right? We're moving our hips instead of our pelvis. The hips are the largest joint in the body. So we want to try and get as much energy moving through there as possible. Move the hips back in space. One thing you know, the hips aren't taking the load if the knee shoots forward. We're sending that energy forward instead of back. All right, last time here. So back on the right, 1 breath long for that left leg, and then walk the hands back to the front. Left foot steps back to meet the right. You can flow through another chaturanga or skip it and just come to down dog. Option to lower the knees, lower all the way to the ground. Pull back your hands, inhale, lift, down dog. All right, so this down dog, remember we're doing our ball change. Right foot steps forward, rise up for high lunge. So the left foot is gonna have that ball change twice. 1 time for the front leg, and then you're loading it. But start it off, load your front leg. Left knee comes up, single leg balance. So the left leg goes back, load the left leg, lift the right, load the right leg, lift the left for a moment, load the left leg, lift the right, and then right leg lands, left knee comes up. So it's a little back leg loads, front leg loads, back leg loads, and then lift. Load, 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 lift. Well, back, front, and lift. Back, front, and lift. This is just that good cross-neural firing that we're going for. We talk a lot in yoga about that mind-body connection. It really is true. We have our physical body, we have the neurons, the brain waves, all the signaling, and we need to get those two coordinated and synced up, right? We want that neurology, those brain waves to be in tune with how these muscles are feeling, how the body's communicating, and little moves like this where we're going across the body, right leg, left leg, loading it, doing 2 different things with the legs. This is what really keeps that brain healthy, ready to go. Okay, last ball change, load the right leg, left knee comes up. And like before, you're gonna roll the left thigh out, neutral, roll it in, neutral, roll it out, neutral, roll it in, neutral. Keep going like that. You'll notice one part might have significantly more ability to move out. Like for most people, I do find the external rotation is a bit more than the internal rotation, even though anatomically, when you look at people, your internal rotation, your external rotation are about the same. So yeah, either you could work like a little free balance or hands on either side of the pelvis, really gonna help you lock into the pelvis and notice if it's hiking or moving on you at all for that leg. Okay, neutral with the left, step the left back, turn to the left and side lunge to the left. You can keep those hands on either side of the pelvis as you move the left hip back in space. Press the left leg, move the right hip back in space. Go back and forth between those two a couple times, turn to the side again. So sometimes I even like to pretend like, you know, you've got those long socks that are going all the way up your legs. It's the winter time, right? So pull that sock from your, it's down at the top of your knee. Pull it up your thigh towards the hip. Pull it up your thigh towards the hip. And it's just this feeling of drawing that femur bone back in space, working deeper hip flexion. Okay, one more time to the left. Sit back in the left hip. The right leg gets long. One breath here. Walk the hands back. Step it back into plank. You retrace again. Lower, knees are not. Head of the arm bone stay lifted. Pull back the hands in cobra. Again, you could just meet us in down dog. Lift, downward facing dog. Head of the arm bone stay lifted. Inhale. Exhale. Push into the hands. Release the neck. And from here, we're going to step our left foot forward again. Rise up. Warrior two. Oh, this will be a really good side opener. Flip the left hand, reach up, reverse warrior. Right hand can come down the right leg or over the heart. Come back through, inhale, warrior two. Left forearm to left thigh, right arm sweeps over. Pressing your right foot, elongate the right side. So you come back through, inhale, left arm up, long in that left. Come back through, inhale, forearm thigh, right arm sweeps. Come back through, inhale. And again, exhale as you come to that variation. Let's all bring our right hand down, right knee comes down. We're coming to a seated spiral. So here's one place I'll recommend. Grab your block if you like having it underneath your hips. Get your glutes level. You could also kick your bottom right leg out from underneath you. And let's roll our shoulders back in this position one at a time. So I really like this move just to free up the scapula and the shoulders. This one can also be very revealing if you're limited in your fascia tissue in the back line. I mean, that's honestly really what makes us feel tight, like you get that pull. It's that fascia tissue. Well, here's what your fascia tissue needs. Your fascia tissue needs hydration, which comes from movement, not from sitting around with static stretches. They can feel nice, especially to give like a little pull or release to something that's really contracted for us. But if we're talking about like perpetual tightness we have around the shoulders, if you regularly feel that tightness in your shoulders or your back of your neck, then you need to do these every day. You need to get your body moving, hydrating, resetting that signaling in the brain of how it wants to hold those shoulders to optimize that movement. Okay, slow your shoulder rolls down and let's unwind to the back. We're just gonna do this one time, a reverse table, just to open up the chest. So I'm gonna recommend your feet are on the ground, pointing towards the back of the mat. Bring your hands under your shoulders and point your hands outwards. So they're like pointing towards the outside edge of the mat. Just for this first one, a lot of people are gonna be comfortable with your fingers facing all the way back, but a lot of us aren't gonna be comfortable that way. So just try it this first way the first time. And if it feels really open, then we'll go for fingers pointing back on the second side. Okay, feet are on the ground, fingers facing out. The reason for this too is I want your shoulder blades to squeeze together. So hug them onto your back ribs, like really squeeze those scapula together. Then push your hands, push your feet, extend the hips. Root your tailbone, chin stays tucked in. So I like to tell people, this could be your reverse table. That's fine. As long as you feel like you're getting your full extension, go for it. I will recommend keep your chin tucked in, just because again, we were just talking about like tightness in the neck. Well, why dump your neck back and go back into that tightness? Elongate it. Lower your butt to the ground. And we're all gonna turn towards the left side. So take your right arm up and around and turn into down dog. Big breath here. Bring the feet together in your down dog and then inch them just a little bit closer towards your hands. So like just 2 inches closer, big bend in the knees. With this big bend in the knees, elbows stay straight. Point your knees together over to the right. So you're doing a little twist in the pelvis, long in that right side. We'll do it 2 times each way. One breath. Then come back through center, knees to the left. Big breath in. And let out. And again, just one more time each way. So knees to the right, your butt kind of falls to the left. You come back through center, knees to the left and hips to the right. Come back through center. Right foot steps forward, rise up, warrior two. It's a big opening here to the left. Right leg is forward, warrior two. Remember, we can always shorten our stance or pick our right thigh up and roll it in a little bit. If we feel like it's hard to stay neutral in that pelvis, keep the neutral pelvis. It's the only thing that'll matter for these classes, if nothing else. Reach those arms out, flip the front palm, exhale, reach up, get long through that side body. Inhale, come back through. Exhale, right forearm to right thigh, left arm sweeps over. It's kind of like that core work that we did. Come back through, inhale, reverse, reach up. You use the exhale to get longer in your right side. Come back through center, forearm on thigh, sweep over. Left arm gets long. Come back through, up, back through. And last one, variation. Get ready for your twist. So left hand comes down inside right foot, left knee comes down behind right ankle. Outside of it, I like to sit myself up on this block here, but you could always kick your bottom leg out if the block isn't an option. If you feel like your right butt cheek gets lifted off the ground, get up on a block or kick your leg out. Again, we don't want this pelvis not neutral as we start to roll the shoulders around, because the idea is our pelvis is the center of movement. It just is where everything originates. So if we don't have that set to zero, not like it needs to live in neutral, right? It's going to move, it's going to get adjusted. But if we're purposely trying to execute a movement like shoulder rolls, then yes, I do want the pelvis neutral, because we're setting all those variables in the pelvis to zero. We're just trying to set them to their most balanced connection, most amount of space between all these muscles, so that now we can purposefully start to roll in these upper shoulder muscles and introduce some mobility to areas that might be a little stickier than usual. Our pelvis can get so used to moving for us, right? Like that forward fold, not bending our knees, that it just gets used to doing all the work. And then everybody gets low back pain and they're like, where's this coming from? The pelvis moving too much, just too often for us. It's like, it's like that like person in the group project that just wants to do everything. We appreciate it, but nobody else is learning anything from you doing all the work. All right, so take that block out. You can take your legs around. You're gonna point towards the back of the mat. Here's our last move before we head into our stream, reverse table. So again, feet are just pointing back, palms are by your side, fingers face out is our first option. Second option is fingers face back. There's no right or wrong. Probably just feel a little bit more opening in like your biceps if your fingers are facing all the way back, but know that it is more important for this femoral head to stay centered. So if you rise up and you notice this arm rolls forward, adjust your hand, come down, adjust your hands, keep that shoulder head back. So important here, chin stays tucked in, push the hands, push the feet, lift, squeeze, 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 shoulder blades together. So you're pointing your tailbone towards your heels. We're just practicing hip extension here, not allowing ourselves to dump into the low back. And I do like to remind people, I see a lot of reverse tables that look like this. They're beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. If your humeral heads are centered, if you feel like you're getting this opening here, some length in the low back, that's all that matters. Your hips are stuck in flexion because of the anterior tilt. We're working on getting more expansion into them. All right, lower it down, and then follow your left arm around. So you take your left arm up and you flip it around to the right, down dog. I'm gonna recommend you bring those feet together and then walk them like 2 inches closer towards your wrists. Really deep bend in the knees. Think hip flexors are getting deeper. Knees to the left. Your glutes fall a little over to the right. Big push into your left hand is gonna get you a big stretch under your armpit. Come back through center and knees to the right. Heels to the left. Back through center. Knees to the left. Ooh, and one more time. Through center. Mobilizing the ankles, the hips, the knees here. So down dog, come to the top of the mat with a little hop, a little floaty, whatever you like the best. When you come up to the top of the mat, make any adjustments you want, grab a little water, and we'll put our little sequences together. There'll be a few add-ons here like Twisted Crescent. So, we already did it once on our knee. There's always that option to lift the knee up. Please know that anything I give you to add on, lifting a knee, adding more balance, it's just optional. Going quicker, feel free to take it slower. Again, feel like you're engaging with the practice in a way where it feels full and like a deep connection with your own movement. Not so much about what anybody else is doing on their mat, but really about everybody having the same kind of experience, because the movement and the messaging is consistent regardless of how far it might go. So we'll come on up to the top. Again, moving at the hip flexors, let's just make sure we're doing it here. So forget about the arms. Bring your pointer and middle finger, like peace out, dude. Bring your pointer and middle finger into your hip creases. Before we even go anywhere, 3 times, we're just gonna poke back. Yep, send it forward. Poke back, so this is hip flexion, hip extension. This is how the hips work. Hip flexion, hip extension. Now let's do it for real. Flex those hips, spine stays long, hands come down, right foot back, right knee down, inhale, arms reach forward and up. And then we'll do that again. So left arm sweeps down and forward again. Just about 5 times here. Right glute is working for you. Left arm's opening up. 3, 2, we'll do about 6. 1 more. Left arm sweeps back, right hand comes down. You could go 90-90, twisted crescent. Left hand can always check right glute or tuck the right toes and lift the right knee. In fact, you don't even have to tuck those toes. You could keep the top of the foot on the ground and drag that foot forward. A little opening for the top of the foot, just an option. Feel free to have that left knee still bent to whatever degree it feels good. You could even straighten your left leg a tiny bit. So it's not about that left knee getting straight, but it's just about introducing a little more stretch. Right ear releases to the right shoulder. Let your neck relax. Modified side plank for everyone. So that right hand's on the ground. Feel like you could dial the right hand out. Right knee lands, left leg goes back. You can keep the left leg low or lift it up in your modified side plank. It's just adding a little more demand. So leg can be down or lifted. Left arm comes up, and 5 times here, we're gonna backstroke it. So down in front of our face, up and around. Down in front of our face, up and around. So it goes down to the floor, overhead, past your leg, and back down again. Nice, 2 more. Keep that right hand grabbing the floor. Hold that shoulder blade steady on the back ribs, and then left hand comes down, right leg steps back. Plank pose, lower, knees or not. Head and arm bones stay lifted. Wide cobra, fingertips come off the mat, elbows come up, forehead releases. Pull back the hands, shoulder blades draw down. Hands come back in, tuck the toes, press up, hinge at the hips, downward facing dog. Left foot steps forward, rise up, high lunge. So once again, hands can come to either side of the pelvis. Here's our ball change, load it move. Load the left leg, right knee comes up, right leg goes back. Load the right, load the left, load the right again, and then step, left loads, right knee comes up. So it's ball change, ball change, ball change, load it. Ball change, ball change, ball change, load it. And that might start to become a little more fluid. You've got to kind of stop yourself from just jumping up on that first ball change, but that's what I like about it. It's a little bit of this neural firing. It's just an extra instruction so that you don't necessarily just get lost in the movement and stop thinking about it, but our brain has to be really active here. Think about brain aging and good health for the brain. This is it. Getting that hop, so good for that soft tissue too. So I've introduced a hop here, but that's just it's a hoption. You don't have to be hopping. You could just load it. I kind of just find the bounciness lends itself to a little bit of a hop. The arms could be working like mine are here, or you just keep them on the hips. Okay, everybody load the left leg. So we won't hop this time. We'll just load it. Right knee is up. Just externally rotate the right hip, cross right ankle over left thigh. Move your hips back in space for figure 4. So this is why we're focusing so much on hip flexion. To do something like figure 4, your femur bones have to be able to move back in hip flexion. Keep the spine long. Keep sitting back into the hips. 1 more breath here. And cross the right ankle, momentary bent knee airplane. Right leg extends back. Right hand can come on top of that left thigh as you reach the right leg back. Really squeeze that right glute. Strong in the core here. Front line of the belly lifts up into the back line. Right toes land. We're going to turn to the right. Side lunge to the right. Sit back in the right hip. Sit back in the left hip. A couple times. Moving the hips back in space. Think femur bones move back. Core stays on. So front line of the body. Listen to the back line of the body. Shoulder heads. Stay centered. 1 more time to the back. Sit into your right hip. Left leg gets long. 1 more breath here. All the way in and out. Come back to the front. Turn the toes. Left forearm, left thigh. Right arm reaches over. Warrior variation 1 time. Inhale, warrior two. Exhale, reverse one time. Long in that left side body. Come back through warrior two. Right hand comes down, inside left foot. Right knee comes down, outside left ankle. Seated spiral. From here, we're just gonna hold strong. So arms can either be by your side or you can bring them into heart center. Take a little twist to the left, but you keep your hands at heart center. A few breaths here, just long in the spine. Not using our arms to yank or crank our spine further than it wants to go. Trust me, not a good idea. Because we're taking muscles that aren't attached to the ligaments and tendons of the spine, and we're using them to pull those ligaments and tendons further than they want to go. Instead, trust the muscles that are attached to those ligaments and tendons of the spine. They're in direct communication with it. They know how far they like to go. All right, so we'll untwist by uncrossing our left ankle, and we'll sit down for our reverse tabletop. We'll lift and lower it just 3 times here. So you adjust your hands in any way that feels comfortable. Fingers point out or back behind you. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, press in the feet, and lift. Root the tailbone, little tap of the butt, lift. Root the tailbone, little tap of the butt, lift, root it, and then tap the butt, turn around to the left. So follow the right arm around to the left, downward facing dog. Feet come together, step them a little closer to the hands, and then swivel the pelvis. Knees to the left, butt to the right, knees to the right, butt to the left. You can also make it the plank, coil, and spring. So you come through plank, knees go to the right, your butt goes back to your heels. Again, this is just an option. Feel free to stick, with down dog, pressing into the hands, keeping the elbows straight. Okay, one more time, butt to the left, come through plank, lower, knees or not, all the way to the ground, head of the arm bones, stay lifted. Regular cobra here, pull back the hands, and then lift, press, downward facing dog. The right foot steps forward, the left knee comes down. Inhale, arms reach forward and up. Here we are, other side. So once again, right arm sweeps down and back, and then take it forward in your 90-90 low lunge. Right arm sweeps down, opening up the chest, sweep it forward. Down and back, little opener of the chest, forward, getting this little scapula mobility. One more time, reach it down and back. Left hand comes down, twisted crescent. Left knee can stay down in 90-90, where you press into that left big toe, lift that left knee up. I'm gonna recommend release your left ear, let it go to your left shoulder. Press in your right foot, straighten that knee, get long through that whole right side. One more breath. And then we're all gonna look at that left hand. Feel like you could dial that left hand out to the left, lower the left knee down, and then load the left side, modified side plank. Right leg can stay low or lift it. The only difference is challenging. Right arm comes up, sweep it back, down, forward, around. So you could be doing this with the leg down or up. It's your choice. Keep that left shoulder blade on those back ribs. Keep it hugging. Last time, right arm lands, right toes step back, left toes step back, plank pose, lower, knees are not, head of the arm bones stay lifted. Go wide with your hands. Inhale, pull your shoulders down and back. Shoulder blades squeeze together, root your tailbone. Inhale. Hands come down, tuck the toes, press and lift. Hoist the pelvis, down dog. Right foot steps, stand up for high lunge. So get ready for this one here. It's the ball change load. Load the right leg, left knee comes up, left leg goes back. Load the left, lift the right, load the right, lift the left, load the left, lift the right, load the right, left knee comes up. So left goes back, lift right, right, lifts left, lifts right, and then right brings left knee up. So ball change, load. Ball change, load. And you can eventually sort of become a little more coordinated with that, maybe even adding little hops in. But we get that little ball change without just going right up into the knee flexion or the hip flexion too. And that really gets that brain training. So challenging for the brain to have to kind of stop and think, okay, what am I doing next? But so good for it too. Be able to get that healthy connection, that neural firing we're paving the highways, if you will, cleaning up the potholes and just kind of shoring up the path of energy to travel from mind to muscle. Last 3, 2, and last one, load the right leg, don't hop. If you're hopping, just roll the left thigh out, cross left ankle over right thigh. You could stay like this, or sit back in your hips. Figure 4. Move, move, move the hips back. So sit back in the hips, stay long in the spine. One more breath. And then uncross left ankle, kick the left leg back, bent knee airplane. Right hand's gonna stay on the right hip. I bring my left hand on top of that right thigh, just above the knee. My right knee tends to want to like venture out on me too. So sometimes I take that right hand on the outside of that right knee, just keep it in place. You might have the opposite effect. Your right knee might want to shoot in. Take your palm inside your knee. Don't let it. Lower your left foot down. Turn to the left. Side lunge to the left. Side lunge to the right. So just moving those hips back in space. You could always bring your hands a little further down the shins. Just a little bit further to go here. One more time. Sit back in your left hip. Right leg gets long. Turn to the front, warrior variation. Link the right toes forward, right forearm on right thigh, left arm sweeps over. Just like your core work, core is on, left arm's reaching over. We're getting a big side stretch. Exhale. Inhale, come up through warrior 2. Reverse, exhale, right arm up. And then through warrior 2, all the way down to seated spiral. Left hand inside right